Welcome to the Friendly Frequencies podcast. I am your host, Carmen McLeod, and I am here to talk to you about my passion for spirituality and personal development. My purpose in life at this time is to remind you how powerful you truly are and that you create your own reality. If the mind, the soul, and the universe are topics that interest you, and you want to continue to evolve into your soul's purpose, then you are in the right place. Thank you for joining me as I travel the world and record my journey through self-discovery. Hello friends, I am coming to you from Darakaten Island, which is the island that I was at for about 2 or 3 weeks. About 2 months ago, I was working here, and it's a full circle moment for me. I'm recording this on the beach where I'm back here now with my tour group. So, yeah, as some of you know, I am now a tour guide in the Philippines for the next 4 to 6 months. And now this is just the most surreal thing because we are bringing the tour group. I'm with two other tour guides, one being one of my best friends right now, and our other friend who's training us. So the three of us we're in training right now. The next tour I will be on my own. But anyways, the three of us are lucky enough to be bringing our group through. We bring them through the same areas of the Philippines, all over the Philippines, a few different spots, and we're bringing them through the places that I used to work as a mural artist. It's actually crazy to think about because, this is the place that I met both of them, and both of them have completely changed my life in so many ways. Can't speak highly enough of them. But this is where I met Gemma. I've talked about her plenty, this is also where I met Simon, where he's the one that said, hey, you should apply to be a tour guide, with True Travels. That's who I'm working for. And that the rest was history. We both applied, both got the job, and here we are. So we're back at this location where I met both of them, and where I spent some time, made friends here, made some beautiful memories, and I just think that's so amazing and just so surreal. Not only is it here that we are coming, it's actually 4 different places that we're going to be visiting, either to stay for accommodation or just at bars or hostels that I have worked at in the past that we'll just go in for some drinks one night. That they're all places that I've worked before, so I get to see basically everybody in the Philippines that I have worked for and made these connections with. Almost all of them I never had to say a sad goodbye. It was all just see you later, see you when I'm a tour guide. And it's really special because it's really nice to be able to know that you're going to see somebody again, and it's not goodbye, it's see you later. So it's really amazing. What are the odds that I'm able to see all these people again? And I have a lot of leeway with my tour group, so I can choose to bring them to these certain places that some of them are already on the itinerary, which was perfect, and some of them are I can just add them anyways. So it's just really, really amazing that I get to have all of these beautiful moments of coming back to revisit some memories. Our first stop was Port Barton on Palawan Island, which was the first place that I went when I had the motorbike that I had for 3 weeks through the island. And so the tour group was with we have three vans full of people. We have 25 guests that we're guiding. So we had the vans taking us through from Puerto Princesa to there, about a 4-hour drive, and just taking the same route that I took when I had the motorbike. It was really nostalgic, even though it only happened a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. But just doing that route again and being I remember stopping there to look at the view, and just thinking about what was on my mind at that time and how I was thinking and what's changed since then. and it's really special. So anyways, that's my little update. I'm feeling really blessed and grateful for everything in my life, and I literally can't even put it into words sometimes. And I think that this might be for some parts of this, it might be hard to put this episode into words because the subject is going to be around psychedelics. So I'm surprised I haven't talked about this yet. I've probably mentioned it briefly. And for those of you who know me, you know that I am a huge advocate of psychedelics. I'm a psychedelic queen. I'm very passionate about it. It's something that one of the biggest things that I'm passionate about, because I've seen the beauty and the amazing outcomes that can come out of this medicine. I don't see it as drugs, and actually, and the intention that I am setting for this episode is to destigmatize for anybody that does have any stigmatizing mindsets around these and thinking of them as drugs and thinking of them as something that they're scared of. If that's you, then I invite you to just have an open mind coming into this episode. I know that psychedelics are they've been a big topic for especially the last few years, or even like the last decade. Like, they're huge in research. There's a million research studies on them, and it's no secret, no surprise to anybody what I'm going to be saying, I think, because it's quite it's quite a popular topic now. It's kind of like meditation. It's just exploded. So I doubt that I'll be teaching you anything new, and I'm not really trying to teach you anything. But just like every episode, I'm just going to talk about my own experience with these and what it's done for me. But I'll start the episode with just a little bit of knowledge that I have around it, because I did study this as part of my degree. I'm not an expert in it at all, but I have actually done quite a few research papers and studied a lot of this, because in university I had a lot of freedom to choose what I wanted my papers to be on. So in my psychology classes, criminology classes, even some philosophy classes, like all of these different ones, I can choose. There was I could choose what I wanted to make the subject about, and relate it to the course material. So I've done this in a few different subjects of study, and I would always pick psychedelics because I found it's one of the most interesting things to me. I'd say other than like dreams and the universe, I'd say psychedelics are probably number 3 of the most interesting things for me. It's definitely up there. So I'll just begin by so my intention really is, I want to encourage everyone. So I say this a lot. I want to encourage everybody that I talk to about this, that whenever it comes up in conversation, I encourage everybody to try psychedelics. And when I say psychedelics, I mean mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, and there's many kinds. And those are the 2 most common, I'd say, that people around, at least people in my culture, my Western culture, do. But there's obviously a long history of psychedelics being used for traditional purposes, indigenous practices, all of these things. They're very spiritual, very sacred medicine, and especially when it comes to ayahuasca and things like this. I don't have experience with that yet. Of course, I'm going to be going to South America one of these days, and over the next few years, and I will have lots to say about that. But for now, most of my experience is with mushrooms. I've done LSD 3 times, but like the same batch of it. I just had it was just very strong, so I had to kind of separate it into a few different times. But so I've done only one real full trip on LSD, also known as acid. That was in Cambodia. It's quite the story as well. But I think I can't tell you all of the stories that I have but around mushrooms, because I've probably been doing them since I was 15 or 16, and obviously not all the time, but it's more of a summer thing. And it started off, of course, like I'm in high school, I'm a teenager, I'm just kind of doing it to experiment, have fun, my friends are doing it. So I have had experiences where I maybe wasn't in the best situation. The first time I did it was at a skate park, in Delta, where I live, where I'm from. Not the best place, and it was not with like the most ideal people. So like not all of them. Some of them were good friends, but the people that were around, they were not all friends. I ended up having a bit of it was just not great, but it's the first time's usually not always the best. But or I'm not sure if that's even true, but I've heard many mixed things. But I'm going to talk a lot more about my most recent experience, because this was about a week ago. So a week or two, maybe 2 weeks ago now. I did it alone, actually. So most of the times that I've done this, I've done it with friends, and it's always a different experience every time. But this time I did it alone. It's the second time I've done it alone, but the first time was back home. And it was a very different situation. It was amazing, but it was a very like small trip, not so intense because I didn't do a whole lot. And so it was just really great, really, nice and spiritual, and just really, I really enjoy my own company, so I know that I'm able to do this, and I have enough experience with the medicine that I can do this very confidently, knowing that I'll be okay. I know exactly what to do, I don't know exactly how it's going to be, but I have enough experience with it. So I did it by myself in the Philippines on a mountain, like a normal person, doing yoga, painting, meditating, and all that fun stuff. And it was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had, because so my intention going into that was oh, wait a minute. I kind of skipped a step here. I was going to talk a little bit about the history of psychedelics. I don't know if you guys super duper care about that, but, there's a lot. Yes, actually, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. It doesn't have to be like a history lesson or anything, literally very small, but I think it's important that I talk about just a little bit about generally, before going into my own experience, generally talking about really what's the purpose of doing this, like why should you do psychedelics. So sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself right now. I'll save my juicy story for the end, because I know that's probably what you care about a bit more. But psychedelics are extremely transformational for your health, your mental health, and it can cure, I'm sure you've maybe heard this before, but it can cure depression, anxiety, different mental health issues. The only thing that it is not good for is psychotic mental illnesses, so schizophrenia, bipolar, things like this. It would not be recommended for anybody with those. But for people, and okay, I should probably also say that I'm not I am recommending that everybody try it, and of course, everything, you never know what's going to happen. It's not for everybody. And also, but when it comes to your mental health state, so I'm talking about people in general. I want everyone to experience this. Now, if you have mental health issues and you're looking to cure those, I'm not going to go ahead and recommend it to you. I think maybe I'm supposed to say that you should talk to your doctor. I'm not sure exactly how this goes, okay? This is my first time talking about this. I have no idea what I'm necessarily allowed to say, but I'm going to ask for forgiveness rather than permission, because I don't know. This is all new to me. But just to like lay it out there, this is what I know about it. I'm not going to recommend that if you have mental health issues that you want cured. I'm not going to, I'm not a doctor. Of course, I'm just talking about my experience and what I've learned about it. Anyways, but what I have learned, and plenty of research to back it up on this, but yes, it is really really good for helping people with depression, anxiety, PTSD, trauma, this kind of thing, addiction, and psychedelics are not addictive themselves, okay? They can be looked at as a drug, sure. They can be used as a drug too, right? Like I use them as a medicine. I use them as like honestly a portal, a means of connecting with my higher self and with the universe and with God and all of that, and just connecting with my intuition. That's what it is for me. So it's like more of a medicine thing for me. It's more of a spiritual tool. And for some people, it can be drugs. It can be fun. It's fun for sure. It can be drugs. It can be something you do at a festival. Like, it's always, a good time. So it can be any of this. But where am I going with that? So anyways, there was a lot of research on this back in the, before the 70s. There was plenty of research going on around psychedelics. And then in the U.S., President Nixon had begun the war on drugs. I learned a lot about this in school around, the absolutely no drugs allowed. You're going to go to jail for everything. Definitely not as intense as the Philippines. Like, learning about the Philippines war on drugs, I'm like, I laugh at the war on drugs in North America because it's nothing compared to out here. Like, out here, people were getting murdered on the street. That's a whole nother story. And this was more recent too. Anyways, the war on drugs in North America, particularly the U.S., but definitely in Canada as well, it impacted. So people were, around the 70s, 60s, 70s era, the studies of these, of this medicine on mental health completely stopped. Everybody stopped because they were going to go to jail if they continued to look into this. So unfortunately, it took about a couple decades of just nothing, and everything had to be put on hold. And it was very stigmatized because of this. So then fast forward to, say, a decade ago or so, give or take, a few years, it started to pick back up again. As you know, that over the last, I don't even know how long it's been, but it's definitely picked back up. And over the last 10 years or so, it gets more and more and more. So much research now, and so a lot of decriminalization, legalization in certain countries, right? So luckily for, in Canada, it's decriminalized. There's still stigma around it. There's still the view of this as drugs, not medicine. And so, and we'll see how any pushback comes with talking. I know a lot of people are really open to this subject, and not everybody is. But, I'm just going to talk about it from my perspective. So that's just like the tiny little bit of, that's a tiny little bit that I wanted to talk about it. It's really good for your mental health, your spiritual state, your connection to yourself, to your entire life can change from this one experience. You do it one time, it can change your entire life. It is more than likely to change your life, because it changes the way you look at reality. It changes the way you look at yourself. It shows you things that are in your subconscious that you don't know, that you don't even think about. It's almost like taking a dive into your dreams. I don't know if you have looked into your dreams at all. I've been working on this. Like, I write down, I try my best to write down my dreams every day when I wake up, because I really want to be in touch with what I'm dreaming about. I really want to remember. I want to look back at it and say, why am I dreaming these things? Because this is my subconscious talking to me. This is my higher self trying to speak to me and tell me what it is that I know deep down. My higher self knows that my conscious brain is not aware of. And think about all the wisdom that comes with that. Like, my higher self is more connected to the universe than my physical conscious self is, I believe. So, yeah, where was I going with that? So yeah, the spiritual effects of it. So definitely, I mean, and if you're not a spiritual person, I just think that a lot of, I've heard a lot of stories of people who are not spiritual becoming spiritual after trying these, or people who never believed in, say, a god now believes in God after. Not in a religious sense necessarily, but God as in the way that I talk about it. I don't know, God's different for everybody, but even just something like, I didn't believe that there was something more to this world than physical matter, than just us being, pieces of meat on a floating rock. After doing psychedelics, a lot of people have said that their perception changes on that, and that they now believe in that there's something else going on here. It may not be a God that's up in heaven, but there's something else going on here. There is, a universal consciousness. There is something connected between all of us, all all people, all trees, all things. So, I mean, these are things that I already believe, and I don't, and psychedelics have played a role in my belief in these things and my mindset, my mind frame around these. And, but, you know, I was also raised by a fairly spiritual mom, and my mom has always been quite spiritual, and so I believe a lot of the things that she has always believed, and just kind of taught us around this. I was also homeschooled or life schooled. It's kind of a hippie thing, but, you know, we didn't learn the regular school system. I can talk about this in another episode if you're interested, but a lot of what I learned is around like spirituality and this kind of ways of looking at life. So, you know, of course, this is right up my alley, doing these, you know, experiences of psychedelics. And this is why people kind of laugh at me when I tell them that I wanted to be a police officer throughout my life. For anyone that doesn't know, that's what my plan was over the 10 years, just like for about at least 10 years of my life, up until like about a couple years ago. That was my plan. And this, and you know, I don't even know where I'd be if I continued that plan, but this, I would not be able to be talking about psychedelics. I probably wouldn't be able to be doing them. And that would have changed my whole trajectory of life, because these have contributed to my mind, the way that I operate in this world, and just my personality, my energy, my aura, everything. It's not everything for me. Like, of course, it's not my entire persona. It's not my entire personality. Definitely not. But it has contributed a lot to the way that I see the world and the way that I show up in this world. It's really impactful for me, and I've seen what it has done for other people as well. Microdosing, just to throw this in there as well, while I'm on that subject. You know, I've seen microdosing as that's kind of a way of doing a small amount every other day or however often, and it doesn't do anything that you can notice, but behind the scenes of your brain, it rewires things, and it's like it's a much healthier, natural way of kind of taking, say, an antidepressant. Like, it's so, and you know, I've seen personal experience. I've seen this work for people in my life who have tried this, and so I'm a huge advocate of this, huge advocate of psychedelics. And so now I can talk about more about my experience. So when I was in another island of the Philippines, where I will actually be going back with the tour group, I was able to take mushrooms. They do grow out here. You can just pick them in the wild, and I didn't pick them myself, but a friend kind of helped me out with that. But so I did it on my own. I did it also the same batch, because I had a little, like, enough to do it twice. I did it once with a friend. The second time I did it alone, like a week later, because I knew when I was with him, I was like, it was a really great, really awesome experience. And also I was like, oh, okay, well, I have more. And I'm like, okay, this time I'm going to do it on my own, because I think it's such a different experience. Very, very powerful. And doing it on your own is not for everybody, because some people maybe aren't ready to be with themselves in that. Like, to sit with yourself in that context is quite intense. It was very intense, very sometimes overwhelming, but in like a really amazing way. I felt like I was in a movie. I mean, I always feel like I'm in a movie, you guys. My life really feels like a movie. There's always so much like unbelievable things going on that I'm like, what is going on? Am I even in a movie? Like, this can't be real. So I always kind of feel like that. But this was next level. This was definitely to the next level, the way that I felt. It felt like the climax of the movie that I've been playing, where I'm the main character, and I'm honestly unstoppable, invincible. Maybe not invincible, but unstoppable is a better word, yeah. I felt, of course, divinely connected with the universe, with myself. I was crying at many points of the day, just out of pure joy, out of just pure gratitude. like, it was if I had to put one word to that day, it was gratitude. It was transcendence and gratitude. And I was just so grateful. And this was also this was actually on the 2nd of January. So it just began the new year. It was the most amazing way to end 2022 and to ring in 2023, because I was able to reflect on the last year in complete, like, I can't even use another word other than flabbergasted. Like, I was just flabbergasted by all of the things that have happened over the last year, which I made an episode about last week. All of those things, and then also to be so excited and for the year coming up. And yeah, I was just sitting there in complete, looking at this amazing view of these mountains in the Philippines, and just feeling completely abundant, like feeling like the entire universe is mine, because in a way it is. Like, it's mine, it's yours, it's all of ours. But I feel like at this moment, I felt like I had the answer to life. Like, I had the answer to this game. And I actually was asking myself, is this a game? Like, maybe it's not a movie, maybe it's a game, because I get to change the story whenever I want. I get to change the script. So is it more of a game that I am playing? And if so, I seem to be winning. I seem to be winning this game of life right now, because everything is just working out so well for me, so beautifully. And just, yeah, so it's hard to explain. I could never really explain to you what it's like. It's like trying to, I'm quoting Joe Rogan right now. I heard him say, like he was talking with somebody who's never done psychedelics, and like they're having a conversation, and he's kind of like, all right, I can't even really, like, trying to explain this to you is like trying to explain what sunlight is to somebody who's never left their basement, who's been raised like in their basement with no light, no sunlight. It's not possible. Like, it's trying to explain color to somebody who has never seen color before, or somebody, like, to explain a sunset to somebody who's been blind their whole life. So it's really difficult to explain these things, the way it feels, the way that it looks and sounds like and is. But all I can really say is I was so connected to my intuition and to my creativity and to God or the universe, and that divine power that I feel so connected to all the time. But it was, of course, completely next level. And during this, I had a lot of memories coming up for me, like, in the first like couple hours, I was dancing, I was singing, I was crying, I was painting, and I, journaling a little bit, and just, having a lot of fun, just completely blissed out. And then as the day went on, no, it wasn't night, it was day. As the day went on, I had a lot of thoughts coming up, like certain people were coming up in my memories, or just in my brain, certain names were coming up that I'm like, oh, interesting, like this person keeps coming up in my brain, like I haven't thought about them in a long time. And then in that moment being like, there's a reason for this. I know there's a reason for this. I actually started writing down some of the names because I wanted to remember later, like, why did this person come up? I'm going to reach out to them after this. See, like I was saying before, your subconscious is very present during this. So you're able to reach into that subconscious mind. And if you're lucky and you can remember later what it is that you were thinking, it can be really powerful. There's a reason for everything. There's a reason for all of what happens in this process. So I did that. I wrote down some names that were coming up, but I had a lot of memories coming back from my life back home and my upbringing, not just over the last year, but just over my life. Like, certain memories came up that were kind of interesting. Like, oh, I wonder why that memory is coming up. It's kind of random. And I wish I could remember all of them, but it's something that I really took from this. One big thing was I felt like I felt homesick in that moment. Like, I was really, really happy, but I was also really aware that I was alone. And though I am not alone, I am, but I am traveling solo, and I am on my own out here technically, on and off. And of course I have friends, people around me, I now have a job and all of this, but I'm traveling solo at the end of the day, and I've been doing this for quite some time now, for the last 9 months or so. And I'm completely used to it. I love it. I'm beyond happy with it. And I was also very aware that I was so happy with my own presence, and I am still, but also I was very aware that, I am alone right now. Like, it's just me here. And I was very aware that it's just me until, it's just me when I'm come into this world, and it's just me when I leave, when I die. And I'm very blessed to have such a beautiful relationship with myself, because it's really, at the end of the day, it's just me that's here. My own mind cannot have any other person in it. Like, it's always going to be just me, no matter who I'm with, no matter where I am. So it's a really beautiful feeling. But I was also, so it's just like, at the same time, it was just, I was very aware that I'm not with my family. I'm not with my friends back home. And I'm also, have been quite disconnected from them, and completely, due to myself. I've been, I have not made enough time to reach out to people as much as I don't like the word should, but as I feel that as much as I want to, because I do want to. And then that part of me that wants to always be present in the moment of, doing what I'm doing out here and getting distracted by my life out here, is I'm not talking to the people back home very often, or just maybe a few people, but then, going months without even speaking to my friends. And, I have certain friends that I haven't spoken to since I left Canada, like, for the second time. So this was, maybe 4 months ago, which is, and I think about it a lot, and I feel guilt around it. But, and so in that moment, I was just really thinking about that, about how I want to stay connected. I want to stay connected with my life back home. And I feel like I've almost completely abandoned everything and everyone back there. And I think about them still, but I'm just completely immersed in my new life out here as a gypsy, and I love my life here. But yeah, so that was just something that was coming up for me. So what I'm kind of taking from that is I do want to stay more connected. I want to stay connected, not more connected. I want to stay connected. Like, and why I say not more is something I learned in my leadership course. Like, when you say more of something, you can't really measure that. I just want to be connected. I don't need to say how much more or this or that. I want to be connected. I want to feel connected with my family. Number one, my family. And then, when somebody crosses my mind, I want to act on it and call them, and not just think, oh, I should call them. No more shoulds. Like, I'm going to do it. Now, this is a little more difficult with the new job I have, because I'm kind of working 24/7 now. But it is something that I have on my mind, and that I am truly taking from that experience, because I knew that there was a reason that it was coming up for me. And I also, in this moment, during this mushroom trip, felt like an angel, kind of. I felt like an earth angel in a way. My mom and my auntie have talked to me a lot have told me stories and about earth angels, about how, I don't know, like, how angels can come from the universe in a way, and they come into the world in human form. It's a totally separate discussion, but it's just something that I felt that in that moment, I felt like I was not even human in that moment. I felt like a complete divine soul, and so connected with God and with the universe, that I completely felt like unstoppable, and it just made me, and though I know that I'm human, and I'm also seeing myself like, wow. And I was just so happy and excited that this is really, that this is where miracles grow and where miracles live, because really I still see myself that way. I felt like, even afterwards, and even now, and even before, I see myself as a divine a divine miracle of this universe. Not from an ego sense either. Not that I'm perfect, not that I am and others are not. I think everybody is. I think every single person in this world is a miracle. And that brings me to another thing that I was thinking a lot about, was how unlikely it is that I'm here and how unlikely it is that you are here. So I'm going to remind you of this, because sometimes people need a reminder. I know I do sometimes. It's like, what are the odds that you're even here? 1 in 80,000 billion trillion, don't know, but so unlikely. And how many people are almost wasting this gift that they've been given of being here on being miserable, on being busy. Like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm busy, working, tired. That's the 3 responses I get most when I talk to anybody, at least like anybody from back home in the Western world. Like, and what? Like, it just, when I'm in that moment of complete transcendence and joy and connection and love, I've never felt more love in that moment than I did in that moment. And just to think about, I wish everybody could feel this. I wish everybody could remember how short of time we have on this planet, and how unlikely it is that they were given this time, and what is it that you're going to make out of this. And so I'm feeling really grateful that I have that mindset, and this has really contributed to it. And I've heard stories of other people feeling this way after experiencing this medicine as well. So it's really powerful stuff. I also had some experience with trusting my intuition. So, my intuition is completely heightened in this moment. There are moments where I didn't feel safe, and it wasn't actually while I was, in the high of it. It was actually afterwards, when I was like, I was okay. I was kind of going home at this point, and I could tell my spidey senses were tingling around being in a safe, I was in a safe area, but I didn't feel safe with the people who were around me, and I felt like I was in almost a fight or flight situation going home, like with these people who I had met who were kind of leaving the mountain at the same time as me. And I think that, I've told a couple people about this, about what had happened, and just like these people and how I was feeling around them, and like why it was that I was feeling this intuition go off around them, the way they were talking to me, the number of, it was a lot of like old, Filipino men, like maybe in their 30s or something, like all kind of it seemed like a suspicious situation for myself. And then some people that I've talked to, they said, oh, well, you were on mushrooms, like of course you're going to be paranoid. But I actually felt the opposite. I felt like I felt more clear in my mind than I've ever felt. And I feel like I was more in touch with my intuition than I've ever been. And so I actually felt like I think that actually helped me to discern that maybe I'm not safe here, and I need to get myself out of this situation as fast as I can. And I did, and it was okay. So it was scary, and I came back to the hostel, and I was really shaken up, and kind of needed to take a lot of time to compress the entire day, because it was an overwhelming day overall. But it was just interesting, going from watching the sunset at the end of the day and crying of complete joy, and just looking at this absolutely amazing view, and just feeling like, okay, this is the beginning of the rest of my life, and I'm about to completely change the world. And if you know me, that's not just the drug. That's not the drugs. That's not the drugs talking, quote unquote. It's me. That's already how I feel, and I feel it more now than ever. I still feel unstoppable. I have already felt unstoppable, and this is just adding to the fire, and just giving me more clarity than I've ever felt. So, and I feel this every time to a different extent, and more, especially now as I am more of an adult. I'm far more mature than I've ever been. You know, traveling has changed me a lot, has made me far more mature, more in touch with my intuition, and it just grown me so much. So now to experience that, because that was the first time I have done mushrooms since I've been traveling. And so it's a very different experience, and it's even so much more powerful than when I would even just a year ago had taken mushrooms. Completely different experience, and I'm going to learn something new every time based on where I'm at in my life. And it's just, I really can't recommend it enough. I want everybody in my life to experience this, and everyone's going to experience it differently. And even with the quote unquote bad experiences, I don't think there's any bad experience that you can have on this, just because even the ones that are uncomfortable and scary are teaching you something. They're showing you something. They're always showing you something. You know, this medicine is always showing you what you need to see, and it's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be fun and bubbly and happy. Sometimes it's going to be really scary and dark, but that's what you need to see. It's going to bring up things for you that have been buried up in your soul in your mind for so long that your brain won't even go there when you're conscious. So you need to take your subconscious and kind of dive in there and see what needs to be brought up to the surface, so you can clear it away energetically and move on and enjoy your life. Another thing that I've said this so many times in my life, anytime I talk about psychedelics, because it's something I truly believe in, which is what I think that psychedelics does to you in the moment, like the feeling, the effects of it. So, you know, when it comes to hallucinations and seeing things the way that you see them when you're under the influence of this, I personally believe that is actually what's there. So I don't actually think that when I am on this, I'm seeing something when I'm experiencing it, when I'm on mushrooms or any psychedelics, I'm not seeing what is not there. I'm actually seeing what is there. And it's what my conscious and logical mind is not allowing me to see in my everyday life. But taking this medicine actually peels away one of the layers of it's like it takes off the sunglasses, or one of the layers of the sunglasses of reality, of logic, and what we see as reality, and it takes it off, and it allows you to see one step further into what is really there. Because, as you know, some of you may know, like, the humans can only see this is an example I use, is like humans can only see one small section of the color spectrum. Certain animals can see every color, and we can only see a tiny bit. So we have no idea what the world actually looks like in full color. We can only see what our limited mind will allow us to see. And so that's how we see everything, not just with color, not just with our eyes, but that's what our mind is only capable of seeing, and that is not the whole picture. There's so much, like, you don't know what you don't know. But when you tap into psychedelics, you still don't know what you don't know, but it almost takes the ego out of it, and it helps you look at life from a open-minded perspective of, wow, I really don't know, and I'm open to whatever is out there that I don't know, and I'm open to learning about it. I want to know more. You're curious, you're excited to find out. You know, eventually we're going to find out what's really behind the scenes of all of this universal wonder. When we die, we're going to probably find out whether, or we won't. Like, say, if, none of this spirituality stuff is real and we're all just pieces of meat. Yeah, okay, well, we maybe won't find out because we'll be dead. But maybe we will find out one day, like, what really is up there, what's going on. Like, but I feel like this gives you a small look into what that might look like and what that really is. It's just it's so much more than a hallucination. I feel like it's a portal to another dimension of time and space. And you'll see what I mean when you try it. So that's just my 2 cents on that. And I'm really excited. I really hope, I hope that this episode just inspires you to give it a second look. And, of course, like, I it's not for everybody, but I think everybody needs to try it. Aside from those who have any psychotic mental illnesses, unfortunately, that would not be a good idea. But everybody else, like, really, it's high reward and very, very, very low risk, and I can virtually guarantee you that. So, yeah, let me know. I'd love to hear your stories about how psychedelics have helped you in your life and what they've done for you. What is the breakthroughs that you've had through them? I have plenty of amazing memories and experiences and from them, and I know that they have contributed to my growth so much. So I'm curious, one, if you're into this stuff as well, like, tell me what your experience is with them. Also, if you are not into this stuff at all, I'd love to know if this episode has changed anything for you, has made anything shift, or given you any new outlooks or anything. I'm just curious if my experience is going to impact you at all around this. That's what I really aim to do in this podcast, is to keep speaking my authentic truth, to keep just being me and just speaking what is true for me, and continuing to impact other people through that. And I know that you're all going to find your own way, completely different than the way I'm finding my way. And this is a tool that may help you with that. And it may not, and that's totally cool. Either way, if this is just an entertaining episode for you and you're not interested in going into it, no problem. I'm just happy to be there to entertain you. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I have lots more to say on the subject that, in the future, as I try new things. I want to expand my horizons around psychedelics. I definitely, like I said, I'm going to dabble in ayahuasca. It's a very, very sacred plant medicine found in the Amazon, in like South and Central America, South America mostly. That is a huge subject, like even much huger than mushrooms. Like, that's like, it's a whole nother thing. And I've learned quite a lot about it, and I am going to be doing it over the next few years at some point. But yeah, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But this has been really amazing to share my experience with you. I hope it wasn't too scattered. I have lots of thoughts around this, and sometimes I just kind of spring up my thoughts as they come up. But I hope that you're able to follow me on that. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for caring about my experience. Once again, I really appreciate everybody that's supported me in this journey and who's continuing to support me. I really thank you for caring so much about me and what I'm doing in this world, and for, feeding my success with your love and your energy. I really feel the love that everybody is sending me from back home. I feel it from here. I know it. I know you're thinking of me, and I'm thinking of you. And for anybody that's new, that's listening, who has no idea who I am, I hope there's people like that, because that would be really cool. It's great to have you here, and I really hope to see you again soon. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Friendly Frequencies podcast. I would absolutely love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere else that you are listening to this from. And what I will do is, for anybody that gives me both a review on Spotify and iTunes, I will send you my 30+ hour long playlist that I have shared with many people over the last 2 years. I have been accumulating my favorite music, and I have not met a person who doesn't absolutely love the playlist. It will transcend you into just a beautiful state of mind and vibration, and I can literally guarantee you, no matter what music you listen to, you'll love this playlist. So send me a screenshot of the review, and it doesn't have to be a fully written one on Spotify, but on iTunes they do ask you to write something. So if you just write a few words on there, that would be great. Just screenshot it, send it to me through Instagram. My Instagram is Friendly Frequencies, and I will send you the playlist through there. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next week.